Hey guys, and welcome to my art hacks video for color pencils and watercolors. In this video I'm going to share 5 hacks that are crucial to survive as an artist. Real quick before we start, for more painting tutorials head over to my Patreon page at patreon.com/leopoldbrückner and select the $5 or $10 reward tier. You get access to over 50 painting videos covering oil, watercolor and mixed media techniques. For $10 per month you get exclusive access to my live stream and real-time painting videos. For $15 or more, you get beautiful art surprises, fine art prints, original watercolor illustrations and much more. Don't miss out on improving your skills and learn new techniques. Number 1. The blending hack. When working with color pencils, one of the first things we usually notice is the graininess when we apply pigment. Sometimes that can be really annoying and it can destroy the desired effects that we're looking for, especially when we draw realistically. There are a couple of techniques that are super helpful that will get rid of the grain easily. The first technique is, if you know what base color your artwork has, mix this color with watercolor and fill in the area with that color before you draw into it with color pencils. The watercolor will sink into every pore of the paper, covering every white spot perfectly and leave the paper with a flawless, perfect, even area of color. Then you can go on applying color pencils and the grain will significantly be less visible. The second technique requires a bit more patience, but it works similarly well. The trick is to layer one color pencil layer over another color pencil layer until you have about 6 to 10 layers. The important thing is to stay very light, then increasing the pressure during the process. Don't apply too much pressure in the beginning. You want to have control over the result, and building it up slowly will help to distribute the pigment evenly on your paper. This method will flatten the surface of the paper and you will be able to reach most of the pores in the paper. It will significantly decrease the grain while polishing the paper and leaving your artwork with a beautiful shine. If you still have a couple of deeper pores that seem impossible to reach, then use luminance pencils from Caran d'Ache. They add a layer of wax on top of your drawing and blend all the pigments perfectly together. Choose a color that matches your artwork. Luminance pencils are highly opaque and choosing a color that is too light can add a grey veil over your artwork. Sometimes that can be the desired effect, for example for skin tones. To get a photorealistic effect, just combine the two methods. Start with watercolors and perfect it with lots of color pencil layers to finish it. This will give you a result that looks almost like a photo or an oil painting. Number 2. The short pencil hack. You probably have all encountered this common problem. You bought an expensive color pencil and you used it until it's too small to hold it. But there's still so much of the pigment in the pencil lead that would be wasted if you would just throw the pencil away. Don't worry, there's a solution to that problem. Many art supply stores sell these pencil holders. You can just stick your pencil in them and fasten them with the little metal ring. Now you can use the pencil until it's actually used up. By the way, I've listed this and all the materials that I cover in this video in the description with links to purchase them. Number 3. The uneven eyes hack. What is more annoying than painting or drawing a portrait for hours and then discovering that the eyes are uneven? There are 2 hacks that will help you get rid of this annoying problem. The first ones are to prevent it and the second one is to fix it. To prevent uneven eyes or asymmetry in general when making artworks where that is required, you first need to make sure that your sketch or underdrawing is symmetrical, obviously. I like to do that on my computer. For that, I either scan my sketch or take a picture with my smartphone and send it to my email address. Then I open my graphics program of choice, select one side of the sketch and just flip it. Now my artwork is symmetrical. Then I print the sketch out again and transfer it onto my watercolor paper. If you don't have a printer, you can fold your paper in the middle, hold it against a window or a light box and compare the lines that shine through with each other. Then you can add pastels or color pencils on the back of your sketch and transfer it onto watercolor paper. Then when working on your artwork, make sure to go back from it and observe it from a distance. This way you will be able to see mistakes that you can't see from close up. An even better way is to use mirrors. Our mind quickly adapts to the drawing and we can't see our own mistakes anymore. So take your drawing and hold it in front of a mirror. This will immediately show you the mistakes. Because when it's flipped, it's a whole new image for your eyes and you will detect asymmetry or other mistakes. Now, where we have spotted uneven eyes or other unpleasant things on our drawing, what can we do? I like to use luminance color pencils from Caran again. Yes, they seem to be a solution to almost everything. This trick works when the eyes you drew are slightly uneven. It obviously doesn't work if one eye is completely off. What you now need to do is to check your drawing from a distance. Notice what parts need to be worked on and use luminance pencils to correct your drawing. Remember, they are opaque and able to cover mistakes. But be careful and make only one correction at a time, because from a close-up view, we are mostly not able to see the symmetry as good as from a distance. So in order to get the desired effect, make one little change, get up from your chair, go some steps back and check your drawing again. Repeat this process until your drawing looks correct. Use the mirror to get a perfect result. The brilliant color hack. Do you have a reference picture that has super brilliant colors? And whatever you mix, none of your water or color pencil colors come even close to the brightness of your reference? I had that problem for such a long time and it really annoyed me. But finally I found a solution, and surprisingly it involves airbrush colors. Airbrushes use high pigmented liquid inks to distribute colors. You can get these colors individual in little bottles. I use Watercolors from Schminke. They can be mixed easily with watercolors or pure water, and they are so brilliant, even my camera can't catch it. Whenever I need a brilliant pink, yellow, blue or red, or a mixed color between them, I just add a drop of these inks on my palette and then apply them to my artwork. But please be careful, since they are inks, they dry permanently, so please protect your clothes and the table, and also keep in mind that they are water resistant once they dry. So painting over them with watercolors can be a bit tricky. Also going over them with color pencils can be a bit difficult because they are acrylics, and when they dry, they are like a plastic layer. When you only use a thin layer of inks, you can still work over it with color pencils and watercolors. Only when the ink gets too thick, it's not possible anymore. This is why I always add at least one part of water to the inks before I apply them on my paper. Also, another important thing when working with inks is do not use more than 4 parts of water, because otherwise the pigments will break and you will get a grainy result. You also don't need to water down the ink so much. If you need pastel-like colors, just switch back to watercolors. The right watercolor paper hack. You have followed all the tips that I and other artists have shared with you, but still don't get the results they get? Well, that's a common problem and it's not your fault. As every artist, I love to try out new art supplies, and I have a plethora of watercolor pads and blocks that I don't use. And that is for a reason. Not every watercolor paper has a quality that is needed for specific techniques. For some techniques, you need to be able to lift off watercolor pigment, or you want to layer watercolor to reach a realistic outcome, for example. But not every watercolor paper allows that technique. Some watercolor papers just suck in all the pigment, and whenever you layer new colors on top, it reactivates the bottom layers. The colors get lifted off and you end up with a smudge. I've tested a couple of watercolor papers and I personally like Fabriano hot pressed watercolor paper, Grana Satana matte. This is my favorite paper, but I also like Ars paper and Britannia watercolor paper from Hanemühle. When choosing watercolor paper, make sure you know in advance if you like to use color pencils or not. The more rough and grainy the surface is, the harder it gets to work on with it with color pencils. When you want to do a color pencil work and just apply a bit watercolor here and there or normal paper, try to get a thick paper, so that it will buckle and warp only a bit and less than normal paper. Every paper will buckle when it gets in contact with water. That can't be avoided. I just pressed my artworks after I finished them for a couple of days with about 50 kilograms of weight, or several books for a longer amount of time until they are flat. For more information about watercolor papers, check out the watercolor paper review video I did. Click in the right corner of the video or wait until the end, or check the description. I hope you liked these 5 color pencils and watercolor hacks. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. Bye bye!